So in this segment, it's a bit of an older video, I know, but I'm discussing, Barnier needs to stop giving rejoiners false hope. Honestly, you can see from the caption here, Barnier, the man who negotiated the terms of Brexit from the EU side, saying here that the UK can rejoin the EU anytime, debunking the naysayers on both sides of the European debate in Britain who say the EU would never let us back in. I don't think I've ever said that, but I did say the UK needs to go through significant reforms. And I'll talk about some of the stuff that Barnier is better when he talks about this kind of certain kind of things. But we'll watch bits of the clip here, and I think he's doing people a disservice when he says stuff like this without caveats, big caveats.
Yeah.
The door is open any time. I always say that during negotiation, after negotiation, the door remain open. But
he's talking about for Britain to rejoin the EU.
Would the terms be significantly worse than the last time?
To be clear, the UK government, the current government, the next government, knows exactly what are the terms and the conditions to be part of the single market, to be part of the customs union, to rejoin the EU.
We don't really know the terms and conditions of rejoining the EU because the EU members can say, Spain can say we want Gibraltar, things like that. So the terms and conditions of that aren't really that clear because it'll be up to the member states because it'll be a negotiation. They can ask for things. They can be ridiculous if they want to be. We know what the four pillars of the EU are. That's fine. The customs union, we know what that's about as well. But to rejoin the EU, there will be significant negotiations. We still need to get past things like the Copenhagen criteria and things like that. And we still don't know, could we keep something like the House of Lords, for example, which is quite undemocratic, but it's more of a house for amendments. That's something I've seen some kind of discussion on, but I've not seen anything concrete because, again, the Copenhagen criteria is not the clearest. It is a bit vague, and I think it's done like that on purpose.
The point is to know what would happen during this time. How far, what would be the size of the divergence between us and a new candidate. So this is.
So the divergence between us and a new candidate. So he's talking about how far the UK kind of goes away from the EU kind of in a regulatory sense, which is happening because the EU are implementing new laws on things, arsenic being one in baby food, and the UK aren't implementing them. So the UK are keeping the level playing field we had at the time of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement. It's just the EU are kind of moving to more stringent rules, which the UK aren't following, obviously. Or should I say Great Britain aren't following, which causes the divergence. But I think, I guarantee if you probably said the same thing about, Turkey joining the EU, he's going to say the door is open. The problem is people seem to interpret his statements as, it's very likely to happen, or, it's going to happen, or, stop saying it can't happen. Anyone who said it can't happen, I don't think they're correct in saying that. I think it's very unlikely it will happen, especially not without significant reforms. The reforms being the key here. And proving that we do understand the EU as a project beyond just something that benefits us financially. And that's why I think when Barnier talks in this clip, he's not talking about the UK joining the EU, but he's talking about in terms of what the kind of the EU is more about, in terms of protecting its members. I think what Barnier does here is a lot better.
The point is not to be more friendly or less friendly. We face clearly and mechanically the consequences of the Brexit. And as far as the car industry is concerned, as far as financial services are concerned, Brexit means Brexit. You can be out or in the single market at the same time. You cannot dance in two weddings at the same time.
Such a weird phrase that you can't dance in two weddings at the same time. But this kind of point, I think when he talks about the UK rejoining the EU, I think it's got to be in the context of, the UK adhering to certain things, changing kind of the perception and things like that. Maybe it doesn't have to be as open as that. But it's like you get them parents who tell their kids they can achieve anything. And it's like you're building your kid up for failure there. But if you say you can achieve anything if you work hard, you get some luck. But you got to put the hard work in, things like that. And even then, it might not work out, but at least you tried, that sort of thing. They're the kind of caveats I'd want to see Barnier add, which is, it depends on the member states. If they think the UK has gone through reform and kind of sees the EU in the way the other countries kind of see the EU as a project. They're the things I think Barnier should be saying. A more nuanced take rather than just saying the door is open and blah blah blah, because people get really giddy and jump on those sorts of statements. And the other thing to remember is Barnier is no longer part of the EU. He doesn't represent the current commission. He is a part of the last commission, and that's one of the important things to remember. He's talking more as an ex-diplomat more than anything, and Barnier being a hardline diplomat, he does believe in negotiations. That was his job. He had to deal with Lord Frost shouting about sovereignty every 2 minutes. This is a guy who has a strong will because he had to deal with an absolute clown, if you see what I'm saying. So point being is that he's a hardline negotiator, he will constantly believe that things can be negotiated. It just takes compromise and things like that. But there are certain morals the EU didn't compromise, which Barnier did a good way. He kind of did push that towards Frost. So let's carry on with the clip.
I understand, but you can put the rules in a way that's more advantageous for both parties and not. That's fair, right? You can come to agreements.
As far it is for both parties.
Right.
But the task and the duty of the European Commission, the European Parliament, the Member States is to defend the EU interests. And as I said, we can face a situation where there is a kind of cherry picking in the single market. The single market is our main asset. The main reason why the China or US respect us is the single market, which is much more than a free trade zone. It is clearly a ecosystem with common norms, common standards, the same regulations, same supervision, and the same jurisdiction. So that is a single market. So we cannot accept any kind of unraveling of the single market.
And I think this is what he does good at. He talks about the importance of the single market and things like that. And I think he made the point the EU acts in the interest of its member states. That's what the Commission is there to do. And I think that's the thing he should be talking about when it comes to people discussing the UK rejoining the EU, which is if it's in the EU's interest. If it sees the UK as an asset. Beyond financials, beyond we're a big market, and beyond we have a military, blah, blah, blah. If they see us as an asset, that's not going to cause constant trouble when it comes to votes, when it comes to, budgetary decisions and things like that. It's not going to be a country that spams its veto whenever there needs a unanimous decision, that kind of stuff. That's when we can more broadly have that conversation. The UK goes through reform, kind of understands the EU a lot better, and there's more of a push from people to rejoin the EU. Things like that, and you get more politicians who can talk publicly about it without getting battered by a bunch of lunatics. But that's a long way off. It's I think potentially more than a decade off. And I think when you have conversations around the UK rejoining the EU, I think it's got to be a very nuanced conversation. It's got to start with not from the Copenhagen criteria, but from where things went wrong. Why did Brexit happen? That's the first thing we need to look at. There needs to be an autopsy and look at what happened. All of this dog whistles, all of this xenophobia that's built up within the country. Why is all that there? Why did we see ourselves as the quote proper Europeans, as one British immigrant put it? One that was based in Spain, ironically said, I thought they'd keep freedom of movement for the proper Europeans. That kind of sense of pride, the arrogance. We need to look at that kind of thing. The dog whistles. We saw ourselves better than our EU counterparts, and that's why we're in the mess that we're in. That's where the conversation, in my opinion, needs to start. Not from the Copenhagen criteria, but we need to look at where we went wrong as a country. And then we can talk about reforms and things like that. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.